Wisdom with Barbara Waterhouse at Center for Spiritual Living, Asheville. Everybody take a deep breath. Let it out. And please continue to breathe. But as you do, let go of any and all distractions to this moment. Bring your awareness into present time. Relax, be focused, and join with me in knowing truth. Truth being that each one of us is connected to all that is. That all that is all that is. It doesn't matter what we try to call it. We can call it spirit or divine or the absolute or God, but each one of us is an individualized manifestation of that energy. We are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual law. And I know that as we are made out of whatever spirit is, we are perfect, whole, and complete. Because spirit is perfect, whole, and complete. Whatever God is, I am. And so I claim for all of us lives of health and wholeness, happiness and joy. I know we get out of this class everything that we need to get out to have an abundant, happy, healthy life. We are filled with joy. We understand what is ours to understand. We take these ideas and we incorporate them into our lives. And our lives are better off for it. And with great gratitude for all of the great thinkers like Charles Haanel and Wallace Wattles and Ernest Holmes and Thomas Troward, for all of the greats that set this ball in motion of consciousness evolving, I simply release this treatment into all that God is, because I know that God is all. As together we say, and so it is. Wonderful, wonderful. Who was not here last week? Great, I'm so glad you're here. We are not having class next week, just so you know. We're not having class next week. We'll have class the following week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that. Probably for a really long time, but not next week. John and I are going to the beach tomorrow morning. I will fly back, really. Next time you see me, I'll be happy and relaxed. So I'll fly back for Sunday, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then Margaret's taking me down to Greenville to fly back to the beach. I just feel so cosmopolitan when I do that. It's so cool that I can fly up here and fly back. And then the week after that, we'll come back and have class. So if you're looking for me, you can still reach me on my cell phone as long as I'm in line with a signal. If it doesn't answer, I'll hear it later on during the day whenever I get around a cell phone tower. And I can talk to you on the phone, I can call you back, everything's fine. So, you had the assignment to read parts 1 and 2 last week. And I want to know, before we move on, did you have any questions about parts 1 and 2? And if you don't know what I'm talking about the book, The Master Key, which we sold out of before class last week, and it is on our website as a free PDF download. So you can go to www.cslasheville.org and look around for the free downloads and the books, and there it will be with an option to download it, and you can read it on your iPad or your phone or print it out or whatever, or you can go to Barnes & Noble or probably Mr. Fred's, Mr. K's, whoever, Mr. K's, because we've done this before, so Asheville is kind of inundated with the book. And pick up a copy that way, however you want to do it. But we are looking at parts 1 and 2 from last week. Morgan.
Okay, my question is on part 2 in section 13. He's talking about the subconscious and the conscious mind.
Right.
And so my question is though, okay, let's say you're trying to manifest wealth, and for some reason you're getting hung up. Is it your conscious mind is blocking your subconscious mind, or is it your subconscious mind is blocked? I don't know. Your conscious hasn't gotten through to yourself.
For most of us, by the time we're sitting in this class, we have used our conscious mind say this is us. We're just gonna do our thought process up there. We've used our conscious mind for most of our lives. Negative, complaining, doom and gloom, all is lost. Staying awake all night. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? And then you come to this center and we say, you can change the experiences in your life by thinking positive thoughts, by looking at the possibility, by going beyond the effect and change the cause to your financial distress. And so here we go, we start putting in a little positive affirmation here and there. Maybe we go see a practitioner. But even at that, if it hasn't tipped yet, we have so much stuff in our subconscious that it is the subconscious that is ruling us at that moment. And so what the only thing that I know what to do, other than having someone have a miraculous healing, is to continue shifting. Let's put subconscious down here. To continue shifting all of these by appreciating what we have through our gratitude, by looking on the bright side, by sharing in other people's demonstrations and triumphs until we have shifted the balance of our subconscious. But even before we get to 100%, one of the things I love that Ernest said is you only need 51 to tip it. And you can use a practitioner to have that consciousness shift. But it's our job to control and direct our thought process and our feelings to experience that which we want to have in our lives. But for most of us, by the time we're here, we've got a lot of gunk in there, a lot of negativity, a lot of race consciousness, a lot of demonstration that things really can fall apart, those kinds of things. But it is our conscious thought that directs our subconscious.
Thank you.
Robert.
Is race consciousness what Jung called the collective?
Yes, the collective unconscious, because we're all one. And we're all connected. We're not separate. We're all one. And so whatever anyone is experiencing, thinking, believing is going to affect us. That's why it's important to do our spiritual practice, so we can clean ourselves up every day. We can let go of anything that doesn't serve us, and we can replace it with the ideas that we want to have in our lives. All you have to do is catch a debate on television to look at race consciousness. And what we want to do is make sure that we don't jump in there unless we want to live the life of the masses, which for most people is that there's an outside power, that we're powerless, that we are at the effect of our lives, that things can be taken from us, that we don't get to have what we want, all of that stuff in the collective unconscious or the race consciousness. We don't want to buy into all of that. We are the light bearers. We are the ones charging forth on the evolution of consciousness for humanity. We don't want to get sucked into all of that other stuff. We want to hold the light high so other people can come up out of it. And to do that, we have to be vigilant. We have to think about what we're thinking about and be mindful in our choices of what it is we're going to focus on and what we're going to let in or let out. We let it out usually through our mouth. We do. And that's why it's so important to listen to yourself. Do you want to live that? Do you really want to live that? Is that person really that important that you want to live that? If not, stop it. Any other questions from last week? Great. Lynn, your treatment's on the website. It's on our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and then type in Center for Spiritual Living Asheville. And there's your treatment from yesterday. It's wonderful. Leaping erasers here. So what we start off with on part 3, and we're going to probably read up to, let's read up to part 10 for next week. And because you got 2 weeks, so let's just go ahead and read. It's really easy. It's little short papers, pages, like 4 pages to a part. So we'll just go ahead and read up on the book, and then we can jump around and talk about different sections, which I like, instead of saying, no, you can't go there, that's next week, or that's 2 weeks from now. No, hold that farther, I don't want to pull that. So the individual acts on the universal. That is so important to get, that we are immersed in a creative field and energy that we are acting upon. Most people think that the world acts upon them. The sun comes up, they have to get up. Somebody says something, they have to do something. A circumstance changes, their plans are gone. Most people think that the world or life acts upon them, and it's so important to get that we are acting on life. We are acting on that creative force, the law of attraction. We are setting law in motion. We are the ones who are deciding what's going to happen in our lives. And anything that happens in our life is because of us. I love that we can't blame anybody in this teaching. Nobody can hurt us. We can attract into our life someone who is hurtful, but we, out of 7.5 billion people, we managed to find that person because they were a direct match vibrationally to us, and we just put them on our tractor beam and pulled them right into our lives and called it love. I always get a little nervous when people tell me, oh, I'm in love. So what we're looking at is cause and effect. And there are people who have been in this teaching for decades and they still don't get this. They still are, no, you did that to me. Somebody else did that to me. This was taken from me. And because of that, I have no choice but to feel angry, betrayed, abandoned, upset, whatever. And I'm thinking, my God, how long does it take for us to get that? But it's true for all of us, that when we have circumstances on the outside that trigger off our unmet needs inside of us, it's so easy to quickly abandon these principles of truth and to go right into feeling victimized, feeling like a child, feeling helpless and hopeless, instead of saying, wait a minute, I created that, and if I created it, there's got to be a pony in there somewhere, there's got to be some kind of good in here somewhere, and I'm going to bless it and affirm the good and make it come out so that I can get good out of this instead of getting a terrible experience. And so if you bounce around in that, I want you to know I completely understand. I completely understand how easy it is to feel at effect instead of cause. But whenever we are at effect, we have given our power away. And when we've given our power away, we are powerless. And I don't know about you, but I don't like to be powerless. I like to be powerful. But if I'm going to be powerful, I can't give my power away because something happened that was a surprise and I haven't stopped to take a breath, to think about it, and to make a positive choice. I'm just reacting like a puppet on a string, being jerked around by life. So what we want to get is that we are the cause. The individual acts upon the universal, and then what happens? We have an effect, and what kinds of things might be effects? Poverty can be an effect.
Relationship.
Health. A relationship. Which could be a happy phase or a sad phase.
So, I mean, but you could actually have like poverty and wealth, right? You could like win the lottery. Like that would be an effect.
Sure, winning the lottery is an effect. Definitely.
a positive.
Well, it depends. Talk to some lottery winners and it was not a positive experience. There are some lottery winners because they have not established a consciousness of prosperity that they cannot keep the money. And in their acting out of getting rid of the money, they often get rid of their family, their friends. Some people have ended up after winning the lottery in more debt than they ever were in their life. They're way behind now after winning the lottery. So it's not always a positive experience. What makes winning the lottery a positive experience?
Your attitude becomes a surprise.
What, Joe?
I was gonna say, when you have the wealth consciousness to back it up, when it's inside, it's not.
You do. You make winning the lottery a positive experience. And you make winning the lottery a negative experience. It's all about you. You are cause to your life. There are no coincidences. There are no accidents. You are cause to your life. And if you forget that, you go into the tendency of the consciousness in your consciousness, the tendency of thought in your consciousness, and since you forgot it, that tells me it's probably not that great, or you wouldn't have forgotten it. Or you go into the tendency of thought of the consciousness of everybody around you, or the race, or whatever. And so you really want to get this as a starting point that you are cause to your life, and everything that isn't directly you is what? It's an effect. So we are cause, and everything else everything, everyone, everywhere is an effect. So if you're worried about a thing, if you're worried about money, if you're worried about a diagnosis, if you're worried about what somebody is saying about you, come back, Barbara, thank you, don't go on that tangent. Yes, if you're worried about what someone is saying about you, if you're worried about some place, then you are dealing at the level of effect. And what happens when you deal at the level of effect?
You give away your power.
You give away your power. Can you make any change from the level of effect? No. You can't make any lasting change. You can deal at the level of secondary causation. And Thomas Troward says, when you allow your purpose to be contingent upon any person, place, or thing, you have descended to the level of secondary causation. And that is the level of doubt, fear, and limitation. So if you're doubting, you're in secondary causation. You think something else is going to make you okay. If you're in any kind of fear, you're in secondary causation. You're thinking something outside of you is either going to make you safe or not safe. And if you're person, place, if you're worried about anything, then you're in secondary causation. And you can manipulate your life like crazy, dealing on the outside, but it doesn't give you that sense of well-being and stability and comfort and joy that you get when you know that you are the one that is in charge of your life, that everything is coming through you. And if things are awry on the outside, you need to get your own house in order, which means calm down. You know, all of your daily activities that you're getting are about calming down, being able to sit still in the chair. Are you reading the ends of the chapters where you have homework every day? You're supposed to sit still. You're supposed to be able to calm yourself down. You're supposed to be able to focus on one thing. All of these are training in awareness and control of yourself. So when you're trying to manipulate people, do you ever have someone try to manipulate you? Yeah.
Oh, no.
When you're trying to manipulate people around you, manipulate things around you, manipulate experiences around you, you are not going to get what you want, even if you put all the pieces in the places that you want. Because they didn't get there through you. They didn't get there what we call by right of consciousness. And so as soon as you let go of them, they're gonna go back to the way that they were. Because you didn't change the energy that put them where they were, that put them where they are now. They're gonna go right back to where they were. Does that make sense? It's frustrating, because you think, oh, I got it just right. I set it up just right. And then it all falls apart. Whereas if you can calm yourself down, control your body, control your thoughts, control your emotions, and focus your attention, then you can provide an avenue for those things to come into alignment with how you want your life to be, and they will be unshakable. They may not look exactly the way you thought they would. They may not be that particular person, maybe a different person. May not be that job, maybe a different job. May not be that home, maybe a different home, but that which you create will be yours by right of consciousness. Nobody can take it away from you, and you can't lose it. Does that make sense? Jane?
So if you blame somebody, or if you blame something outside of yourself for the existence of an effect, you're just taking power away from yourself.
Yes, Jane Christensen. If you blame somebody outside yourself for an effect, you're just taking power away from you. Yeah, I spent a lot of years trying to get people to do what I wanted them to do. And it was exhausting and frustrating, and it never brought me the happiness that I thought. Usually if they would do what I wanted them to do, it wasn't with a joyful heart. It was with a lot of resentment, and then I had to deal with that. So when you can control yourself, remember the world within, the world without, the world within, and the world without. When you can control the world within and control the cause of your life, you can make anything happen. You can literally make anything happen. As long as you are able to hold that vibration, hold that focus, hold that acceptance of whatever it is, the molecules of time and space must coalesce, collapse into form, as quantum physics would say, and it shows up in your life. You can have anything you want. You just have to have that on the inside before you can have it on the outside. And most people are not willing to put the time and effort in to changing what's going on inside of them. They are so used to and so conditioned to reacting to things on the outside and to bouncing around in life, not knowing that it's all coming from within. They're so used to that that they think we're nuts. I mean, do you have anybody in your life that just thinks you are completely wacko? Yeah. I'm going to manifest that. Oh, you're so full of it. Because it sounds crazy. Until you go into athletics. And I remember a few years ago after the Super Bowl, the losing team was talking to the press and they said, we just couldn't wrap our heads around it. When you get into athletics and they teach you to visualize, or what Drew was saying last week about the commandos, about how they teach you what not to let out of your mouth because they don't want you to make it real. You get into athletics and they start programming you to see the ball go in the hoop, to make the catch, to throw the perfect thing, to run and jump over every one of those hurdles. They teach you how to do that so that the body will follow the mind. It's just a given now. And then when you go into sales, they tell you that if you believe that someone will buy this from you, they're going to buy it from you. But if you wake up in the morning and go, oh, I just am a terrible salesperson, nobody's going to buy this, I'm just going to starve on the street, then you're going to take perfectly good customers and push them away. So even though people still look at us as if we're wacko, more and more people are coming into alignment and seeing that there really is something to this. It's like the placebo effect. If you believe a sugar pill will heal you, a sugar pill will heal you. And so we get to have this expanded way of looking at life, and sometimes it's not pleasant. You know, when you see a really big screw up and you realize you did that. I did that. I remember when I was in Eugene, Oregon, many, many years ago, and I was breaking up with a long-term relationship, and I was driving my $100 car. It was a Hillman named Stanley, and I was turning a big left turn, and the steering wheel broke. Just flat broke, big clunk. Just broke, and I coasted, and the angle of the turn took me up on one of these really wide sidewalks in downtown Eugene and rolled to a stop right in front of the plate glass window of the printing company where the guy I was breaking up with was working. And Honest to God. And I knew enough to know that I had done that. That I had played my damsel in distress card, which was a lot of our relationship, and that I needed him to come out and fix the car so that I could go home and be on my way and all of that. And so it's not always, wow, look what I created. Sometimes it's, oh, wow. But either way, we created that. And once we accept that we are creating our experience, then all of the doors open to possibilities. Because if someone else is deciding what our life will be like, if there really is a God up on a cloud, a guy with a beard and a bad attitude and lightning bolts and blessings and the big gold G on the robe, if that is really happening where our lives are determined by fate or some kind of past life karma, something like that, then we're all screwed. We are. And so we're either creating our lives or we're not, and if we are, even those times when we go, let me see, I went to the convention in Utah and I was not in control of my emotions. I was not a pretty picture, and I came home and I was sick. I was really sick. I did that. But if I did that, then I can know that, boy, Barbara, next time you let yourself get that out of control, you may want to just look at what's going to happen 2 weeks later and ask yourself, is this really worth it? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but at least you're going through it consciously instead of unconsciously. So once we get that we are cause to our effect, that we are the world within and everything else is the world without, and we can only change the world without through the world within. Once we get that, there are infinite possibilities of our life. Then somebody gets fired and we go, great, you're creating something. You're creating something wonderful. Let's get really clear about what we want. Well, we want a lot of money, we want to do what we love to do, we want to be loved and supported, we want a wonderful environment, we want to be passionate, we want to be creative, we want to be supported and uplifted in what we do, we want to get up out of the morning and just can't wait to go to work. So that's what you get. But if you get fired and then you're going, oh, it's terrible, do you know what the unemployment numbers are? And not just the ones they publish, because they don't include all the people who've stopped looking for work. There's no jobs to be had. Even if I do get a job, it's going to be a service job at $7.25 an hour, and I'm going to be homeless in just a matter of months. And you can have that if you want that. But when we realize that we are the ones orchestrating our lives, setting the stage, controlling where we go, then we have all kinds of possibilities, and then we are empowered to create it the way we want. And then we have to have the vigilance to not get sidetracked by all the people who go, what are you out of your mind? You're not just going and taking that job. Don't you know that McDonald's is hiring and you need to go get that job really fast because somebody else is going to get it. If you don't get it, and then you're going to really be in trouble. Don't buy into that. No. I am a part of all that is. I live in an abundant universe where there is more than enough for all. I am choosing to create my experience in a way that I love, that honors the amazing God self that I am, where I can do what I want to do and go where I want to go and be who I want to be. I'm going to have that, and I'm not going to settle for second best because I'm afraid. And that takes some courage, and that takes some discipline, and sometimes it takes some stubbornness, because it's not always the outside voice. Sometimes it's the inside voice going, oh my God, all is lost. It's terrible. The sky is falling. Ah! Jane?
So when I wake up in the morning, I think to myself, oh boy, I love mornings.
Who are you? I have watched you in this room for almost 10 years. You are a changed woman.
I'm working on it.
You're doing great, Jane.
I couldn't have done much worse, so.
You're doing great. That's why you were waiting. You're waiting in the morning and you're all excited about life.
About, yeah, morning, my favorite time of the day. Time to get up and do something terrific. But if I say
No,
terrific,
own it.
yes.
Time to get up and do something terrific.
But then
Good for
I
you.
think to myself,
Don't go there, I don't want to hear it, I want to stay with terrific. Yay! Yay! Jane is living proof that if you come here long enough, everything, you will transform into an amazing being. Darcy.
Is it as important to know what it is that's causing you to be a certain way
No.
as it is just to know that you're the creator of what
Yes.
it is that's happening?
Yes, it is not important, it's not critical, it might be helpful to some people, but it's really not critical to delve into all of the reasons why we are as screwed up as we are. You know, I'm amazed that we are as sane as we are, given what all of us have gone through. We are not lunatics, we don't have clown costumes on, and we're not carrying submachine guns. We're doing great, we really are.
But if we have a repetitive pattern that we want to break, then wouldn't some insight about how we're causing this to happen be of value to
Well, Sure,
change?
sure, and that's what I said, it can be helpful, it's not required. And one of the things you can do is look at how you feel. Like if I get fired regularly from my job, and when I am fired, I sink into a deep depression of helplessness and hopelessness, then that's where I want to look. I want to immediately turn around the sense of helplessness and the sense of hopelessness and start talking to myself. Wow, you are so powerful. This is the 15th job you've been fired from. You can get anybody to fire you. You are so amazing. And start taking the power back and start to flip it. But I've really investigated a lot of therapy from both sides of the couch. And I find that whereas it can be helpful, it is not necessary in the least to change your consciousness. You do not have to know what your Uncle Henry did to you. You just don't need to know that.
No, it's just that I've developed this pattern lately of having so much come to me that sometimes it's hard to manage everything.
Right.
And then that frustration and not being able to manage everything seems to turn into anger, and then I go downhill from there, and it's not a good pattern. So I want to find a way to accept the things that I'm creating and be able to manage it a little more effectively, so that I'm not working long hours and feeling frustrated and tired. And
So what you might want to do is start affirmations that I can have money and time at the same time. That my day goes quickly, all of these things that I need to get done happen in lightning speed, and that I have plenty of time left over. I go home on time, I have my evenings free, and I just take care of everything. You can bend time. And if you're angry and you're feeling overwhelmed and all of these sales and things that you've been treating for have come in and now you've got to process them and handle them, if you're thinking thoughts like that, you can actually slow time or speed time up to where it takes more time than it would have. So when I get very frustrated, what I do is I stop and just chill out. Take a breath, close the door. Just take a breath, because really being frustrated is only going to make it worse.
yeah.
I know someone in the offices that goes out for a walk, and you can get more done after a walk than you could by working all the way through. I remember I read a book by Lee Iacocca when he did the whole Chrysler thing, and he said that none of his managers impressed him by staying after 5 or 6, whenever their closing time was, and coming in on the weekends. And for that matter, if they would do that, he would fire them, because what they were telling him was that they couldn't manage their time. So consider that time expands to meet my every desire, my every need. I get things done faster than ever before. Everything falls into place, and I am completely supported by the universe. And see if things don't just go faster. That's worked for me. Okay? Good. Isn't it a common thing that you can have a lot of money and no time, or a lot of time and no money?
Yes.
Is that a common belief? So what I've worked on is that I can have a lot of money and a lot of time. But when John and I started taking these beach trips, we felt really guilty. Oh my gosh. We asked our friend John Gustafson, who managed to take vacations, and he was running a construction company. How do you do that? And he said, the first thing you have to do is get it on the calendar. So the first thing you have to do is get it on the calendar, and the second thing you have to do is put money down. Because once you put money down on something, the tendency is very high that you will go there. So make it all nice and happy, and what John and I do in January is we get the New Year's calendar and we plan 6 trips to the beach. So that every 8 weeks, we're going to the beach. And people hear that and they go, oh, how can you do that? How can your center run without you? Oh my God, every 8 weeks you're going to the beach? And I'm thinking after all these years, how can my center run if we don't go to the beach? You know how we get on week 7. So it took me going against those ideas that say you've got to work long and hard hours to be able to have enough just to get by, and to say, no, I'm going to live the life that I want to live. I'm going to make lots of money and I'm going to have lots of fun. And if I can't do both of those, then what am I doing? So what I would know with you is that you make lots of money and you have lots of fun and lots of time. And check out your consciousness. See where you are. I think the worst thing people can do for a prosperity consciousness is work 2 and 3 jobs. Because it sets up that you are having to do what you don't want to do to get enough money to barely get by, and the universe goes, okay, if that's the way you want it, that's the way we'll set it up. And so you don't want to do that. There's great value in stopping and thinking about how you want your life to be, whether it's for a moment or whether it's for a year. Before we started the center up, I took a year off. Just took a year off. I gardened. I hung out. I watched a lot of television. That was before you had VCRs. I just took a year off. I read my Ayla books from start to finish a few times through them. And what that did is that helped me not feel pressured and not feel like I had to go get a job that I could do what I wanted to do. And when John and I decided to start this center, we were down in the Keys on a vacation. And it was, okay, we'll do this. We'll see what happens. Here it is 22 years later, we're doing great, but we'll see what happens. So pausing, because when you pause, you don't react. Breathing, because when you're reacting, you're triggered into your limbic brain and you're going on automatic, and breathing stops that. Pausing and breathing and then thinking, which is the highest form of choice you can do, is to think about it, will allow you to set the tone for the way you want your life to be. To go within and to shift within, and then to have trust and faith and courage to move forward on what you know to be true, will have the outside come into alignment with the world within, with the inside. And then anything can happen. And I believe if you speak to most people, I'm not sure about inherited wealth, but most people who have created the life of their dreams, if you talk to them, because they write books and all kinds of things about it, I'm reading the Keller Williams, The One Thing now, you know, that they'll tell you that you have to go in, make a choice, stick with that, hold to your dream, know that it's possible, step out on faith, move forward, not be knocked down by whatever happens or the ways of the world, and then you'll have what you want to have. You'll habits you want to have. And so Charles Haanel is talking about this back in 1912, saying to learn how to think is the highest form that you will do, you will be. It's the highest thing you can do, is to discipline yourself to learn how to think, to go within, to manipulate the world within so that you turn away from fear and anger and upset, and to embrace that which you want and to see it clearly no matter what is going on. That's the creative process. That's the magic of it. That's where you get the ability to reach out into thin air and to grab things. We bought a brand new camera back in January. It's a $2,000, $2,500 camera, and it hasn't been doing what we wanted it to do. So our camera person, Devon Embler, called the photo place, B&H Photo, and said, this really doesn't do what it says it's going to do, we want to return it. And they said, I bet you do, but you're beyond the 30-day return time, and too bad. We don't take returns after 30 days. And so she let me know they wouldn't take it back, and she was very frustrated. And this afternoon, knowing that I'm going to the beach and I want to handle this before I go and just breathe and calm down, and I knew that this was going to be for the best of B&H Photo, it was going to be the best for the best of all of us, and that this was going to be working out, and that I was going to connect with somebody, and it was going to be a love fest, and of course they were going to take the camera back. And so the first time I called, I spoke with someone, and they sent me to somebody else, and I finally hung up because it didn't go anywhere. And I thought, that wasn't my perfect and right phone call. So I just kind of gathered up my energy and opened up my heart and knew that everything was going to be okay. Whatever happened, everything was going to be okay. You know, I'm not super duper controlling here. I'm just saying that this is going to work out for everyone's highest and best, that only good can come from this, and that this is a love fest. And I called again and got a hold of some guy named Leon. I thought of you.
Right.
I grew up in Miami, and so I understand the older Jewish slant and humor on things. So I had a wonderful time with Leon, laughing at his jokes and thanking him and petting him and all of that. And what came out of all of that was that the microphone part of the camera was almost a month late in getting here. So I'm going through my papers and I said, wait a minute, Leon, you didn't send us the microphone until the middle of February. So really, I'm just a couple of days out of your 30-day limit, and we really tried to make this camera work. And we don't want our money back. Now I had his attention. We want a better camera. So I'm happy to pay more money for a better camera. It's just not this one. Oh, let me put you on hold. Go to my supervisor. He comes back. He says, well, I went in the front door and they kicked me out, so I went around behind, hid behind the counter. It was like typical humor. And I'm laughing, and he's saying, sure, no restocking charge. Just pack it back up and send it back to us, and we'll give you a store credit, and then you can buy whatever you want. That was a win-win. Someone else had the same conversation a day or two ago and got a completely different answer. Now, is it the B&H Photo, or is it the person on the other end of the phone? If you want something, clean up your energy before you ask for it. Make sure that what you're bringing is something that someone will want to give to you. Do it in such a way that everybody is uplifted. One of the things about this idea of being one is if you look at us as an organism and we're all pieces of the organism, then any particular piece of the organism cannot want to hurt another piece of the organism. It'll kill the organism. I mean, what would happen if all of a sudden my heart said, okay, I'm really mad at that liver and I'm going to stop pumping blood to it? Can't do that. Every piece of the organism can only want what's for the best of the whole. And when we want what's best for the whole, then it opens up to have something manifest. So how you approach a situation determines how the situation is to you. tell you if you get an envelope in the mail, don't open your mail if you're upset. Don't answer the phone if you're angry. Don't open a letter from the bank if you're worried about money. Wait, it'll be okay, just let it sit there. Put it on your altar if you want, smudge it, smudge yourself, breathe, sing, open your heart, be happy, and when you're really in control of your state and the world within is a happy, prosperous, healthy world, then open up your mail. If you want to create trouble in your life, open up your mail, talk to people, answer the phone when you're in a lousy mood, because all you're going to do is attract lousiness back to you, and then people go, oh, you're so mean to me. No, you did that. It's all about you. It's all about the world within, your cause to your effect. If you'll stop and breathe and think for a minute, how do you really want this to go? Oh, I'm just so mad. Then don't do anything. Just go lock yourself in the bathroom until you get over it. Don't mess up your life. And then consider that the price you're paying for that upset is going to be expensive. So clean up your world within. Clean it up every day. The same way that you'll make up your bed. I know not everybody does that, but there's an order, being a Virgo, I'll give you that. There's an order that I have that I clean up, make the bed, clean up the kitchen, do my little smoothies, do my spiritual practice, do my chief spiritual officer letter, do my treatment list, and only then do I let myself out the door. Because that's the only time I'm fit to go out into the world. Otherwise, I'm carrying things that are incomplete. And I don't want to bring that incompletion out into my life. I don't want to walk into my life until I've got myself together. And that doesn't mean that, I have to have makeup on to go to the store, nothing like that. I'm quite the flip-flop and shorts girl at heart. But I have to be clean and clear inside of me. And before I ever meet with anybody or have a conversation that has real importance to it, I'm going to take the time to make sure that I've put my house in order, my world within. Because there are some times that I've been with people and I have not been as careful. And I have created things that then I had to clean up. And so I don't want to do that. And that's one reason we go to the beach, so that we're not tired and frazzled, so that we're rested and clear. I want to be able to have my life be the way that I want it, which means I got to put the energy into the inside. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No complaining. What happens when you complain? You create it. You get more of the same. So here you are trying to turn your thought process, your consciousness from the negatives to the positive, and you throw in a big complaint. I couldn't believe John showed Trump and Clinton up on the PowerPoint. People go, well, where's Bernie? Well, Bernie would have been easy. Everybody would have been, yay, Bernie! No, you said Trump and Clinton, so that you can check yourself out and see what's going on inside of us that is going to be tempting us to complain. To complain about so many things. I'm just fascinated with this whole process. So when we start to complain, no matter how justified we feel, the dog is barking at 3 o'clock in the morning. Anybody would complain. Bob.
Yeah, it kind of ties in, listening to your first part about complaining. And the other one is what I do is, like, you have a complaint with a customer of a product. So I says, well, I do not complain. I make observations. And I said, I have an observation that you might be interested in, instead of immediately going into what's wrong. And I explain to them what's going on, real nice with them. And I've done that a number of times, and the results are just absolutely astronomical. I was at Target one time, and they gave me $40 worth of coupons that I could use in the store because I was so nice.
Because it was a love fest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And so it's cool. I mean, and then you know, it's not I believe, it's I know, because it's about me and how I be.
Right. It's always about you, and when you set the stage so that you can have that that love go out from you and have it come back to you, you can return things, you can show things that aren't working, with the understanding that of course everybody wants to know that the brakes went out in the RAV4. You know, this is important information to share. It's not that rah, 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 because then all you're gonna do is get rah, rah, rah back. So no matter what it is, no matter how logical it seems that you should be angry and upset and complain about it, I recommend you not do it. Discipline. 30 days, no complaining. And if you do complain, not to worry, you just go back to day one. Until you master not complaining. Find the good in it. Your job is to find some good in it. Isn't it wonderful, the water pressure we have shooting out of the wall? Isn't that love indoor plum? You know, because what's your choice? Your choice is to get all upset, and it will only make it worse. It will only make it worse.
Have you ever made it through 30 days yet?
No. Out loud, I have not made it through 30 days. The only person I know that ever made it through 30 days was Isaac Rubin, and it was his rite of passage to be an adult, to go into 13 years old. And he said, I will not complain for 30 years as a statement that I am a mature adult. I am a man. He didn't know that all the other men couldn't complain. Couldn't make the complaint-free world for 30 days. And he did that, and he said he did it, and I believed him. But he's the only one that I've ever known that made it. But you know, my life is better if I can make it through 30 minutes. It is. It's better than not making it through 30 minutes. And then what happens is I get programmed. It goes from a thought to a habit to automatic to subjectified or in the unconscious. And then I get programmed that rather than just defaulting to, okay, you know, is a good response. Buys you time. It kind of is that one hand clapping, kind of stops your thought process and lets you regroup a little bit. I'm going to do Robert, and then did you have your hand up, Morgan? Robert, and then Morgan.
Yes, several times I've wondered about that instruction. Get on the board on Sunday, it says, I speak the truth and I speak it quickly, which doesn't give us time to pause. If our truth in the minute is tinged with certain emotions, that's what's going to come out.
Well, except that when you really look at that, speaking the truth, not your truth may be, I can't believe it, you just hit my car. The truth is, God is all there is, everything's always unfolding in perfect order, there's a pony in here somewhere, there's a blessing in here somewhere, and we must have a divine appointment to connect, and everything's going to be okay. Hi, I'm Robert. That's the truth. So if you take a circumstance and you up-level it to the truth and do it quickly, you won't have any of that negative stuff. You won't be upset, you won't be complaining, you won't have any of that negative energy in you that is then working on creating the circumstances in your life.
Thank you.
Okay, so you mentioned the and so that's not only like stopping vocalizing, but is it stopping your thought process?
It does for me.
Okay, because you have to stop the internal, right? The internal complaining as well as the external complaining.
What I find does is it stops the reaction.
Yeah.
And so very often we are reacting to life instead of creating life. And remember, the only difference between reaction and creation is where the C is. The only difference is how you see it. So if you can stop the reaction and change the way you see it, you can turn it into a creation. And I will guarantee you your creations are better than your reactions. Sandy.
That actually does stop people in their tracks too, I've found, because you're acknowledging that you were listening to their statement, and for all they know, that's what they would consider participation, and it just stops there. more times than not.
Whatever I can do to get myself from going down the rabbit hole is what I want to do. I
Yeah.
want to stop myself.
And it
I want to
keeps you
get a
from
little
doing that.
blood in my brain, a little oxygen, so I can look around and pay attention, go, what's going on, where do I want to go with this, how do I want to handle it, and then take charge of my life by being in control of my thoughts, my feelings, my words, my world within, so that my world without is a reflection of that the way I want it. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I used so it is, and it does change it from a reaction to a creation.
So it is. Great. Jane?
That's really handy for driving too.
You used to get really mad at people when you drove, and now you're doing, isn't that great? You're gonna be my poster child. So it's the conscious mind that decides when we're aware of how we want to set our thinking up. And when we decide to think a certain way over and over and over again, it becomes a habit. And we have a lot of habits of thinking different ways. And some of our thought processes may not be the things that we want to live out. I don't know if you've ever had someone call you and you go, oh no. That is going to be living out in your life. So if you're going to take charge of your life, take control of your life, use this key to manifest a better life, then you've got to change what you're thinking. And sometimes you change it on the fly, and sometimes you change it with a little bit more thought, like in your spiritual practice. You decide how you want your life to be, you visualize it, you create it, you know it, you grow it, and all of that. And other times it's on the fly. But when you catch yourself and start thinking a different thought, like, oh, this is great. And you don't even have to mean it in the beginning. Oh, this is great. Something wonderful is about to happen. Lost my keys. Something wonderful is about to happen. This thing didn't happen. Something wonderful is about to happen. When you do that, and when you claim your thought process, you'll make that into a habit, and then the habit becomes automatic, and then the automatic becomes in your subconscious or subjectified to where you don't even have to think about it anymore. There are so many things that we do without thinking about them that when we can change how we are setting our thought process up, we can direct it in such a way that it will just become automatic and we won't even think about it. People will just say, oh my gosh, you're just such a happy person. You're such a wonderful person. And someone else goes, well, you didn't used to be happy, you used to be miserable. But now it's just normal to be happy. You wake up in the morning and go, today's a happy day, today's the best day ever, everything's going great, everything's coming my way, bring it on, life. And then that's the way that it is. And the more that you do that, the more it becomes subjectified. It goes down into your subconscious and it washes out all of that other stuff. And no, you don't need to know where it came from to get rid of it. All you do is flood yourself with this experience of love and light and happiness and joy, and it just cleans you out. So that what's left, as you plant those seeds of direction for the law, prosperity, health, wholeness, wonderful work, safety, all the things that you want, you plant them consciously. You're not trying to plant them in a rubble field. You've got it all cleaned out. I'm watching the guy across the creek get ready to plant the garden. Wow, it's a huge garden. He had a tractor come and till it, and he was out there at least all Saturday with his rototiller, back and forth and then sideways. And I've gardened big gardens. And then you go back and forth. He's nowhere close to planting. He's got to get the soil ready. So when you're all, I'm happy, I'm joy-filled, I'm filled with love and light and joy, you're tilling that soil. You're getting it ready to place the seeds of intention and thought in there so that when it comes time to grow, it's going to grow great. Let's take a break.
Don't forget the fertilizer.
The what? These old metaphysicians is the way they try to understand how things work. Do you remember in Wallace Wattles, he was talking about the shape of the skull? Because back then, in the early 1900s, there was a whole science on the shape of the skull, craniology or something like that. Phrenology. And they would say, well, this shaped skull makes a mechanic, and this shaped skull makes a musician, and they're just trying to figure out how it works. They were still dealing a little bit with secondary causation, the world without, the world of effects, because they were looking at the shape of someone's skull to figure out who they were. It was backwards. And one of the things that Charles Haanel does, only not that extreme, is tries to figure out how thought works in your body. So he's saying it goes from a conscious thought to a habit to automatic to being subjectified, and the way that that works in the physical realm is that the conscious thought starts in the brain and then moves into the mind. Remember, the brain is just an organ of thought. There is that you which is not your brain, that is the thinker behind the thought, but it goes there and then it moves down through the parasympathetic nervous system and down to your solar plexus, and then it goes from the autonomic nervous system to the one that you can move your arms and control, and he's trying to figure out how thinking a thought will make your body do something, because he knew that if you think thoughts of health, your body gets healthy, and if you think thoughts of illness, your body gets ill. If you think thoughts of pleasure, you have a better feeling in your body, and if you think thoughts of negativity, then your body doesn't feel good. He was trying to figure out how that works, so he came up with a theory. And that's not really how it works. How it works is that your entire body is in effect. That when you think a thought, you are thinking into the universal creative energy. And it doesn't have anything to do with your nerves. It doesn't have anything to do with your spinal cord or anything like that. That when you think a thought, everything in physical form reacts to that thought, the creative process is manifest, and your body shifts. If you're feeling like, oh my gosh, somebody just came in and started throwing $100 bills all around, all of a sudden you're energized, you're up on your feet, you're not sleepy anymore, you're going, yay, this is great. Or if you think a thought that something happened on a global scale and it's depressing and sad, then you're going to get tired and lethargic and just kind of, oh, what's the use, that kind of thing. Everything that happens in your physical body is an effect. However, I don't want to completely discount what Charles Haanel says about your solar plexus. He says that's the sun of your being. And we know that your solar plexus is really a much more advanced brain than the one in your head. You have more nerves, in your belly brain. You have more nerves in your belly brain, you have more connections, you have more processes in your belly brain than you do in your head brain. Drew?
Well, they have found gut cells in your brain cells in your gut, and the Japanese view of it is the hara, as in harikara. You kill the hara, which is the center, and that is in your gut.
Yeah, let's not do that.
I mean, it's saying that hara is interconnected completely and utterly.
It is. I think that there's the head and heart connection, but there's the belly connection. And when you get a gut feeling, have you ever had that? Mm-hmm. Where you just feel it in your belly, that's real. There are real brain transactions going on in your belly, and in to whatever extent they measure it, they say that is a bigger brain than the one in your head. And so what Charles Haanel is saying is that when you're open, there's an energy that comes out through your belly. That there's a, he calls it a light, he calls it the sun of your being. And that your job is to radiate that energy out. And if you've done any martial arts or things like that, you know that they get that energy moving out. And he said that it's really important for you to pay attention to this solar plexus area and to make sure that do you do that over in Tai Chi?
Yeah.
Nancy teaches the Tai Chi classes next door. So it's really important for you to keep on shining, to keep that energy moving through you and not get all tight, all balled up, all constipated, all clogged up, because that'll kill you, you know, if you're not flowing in life. So he's saying it's really important, and he ties this in with being in control of your emotions and choosing your emotions, which is also very important. You have a thought and you have a word, but you're going to need some feeling to go behind it. Oh, life is wonderful. Prosperous, abundant. Oh, life is wonderful. I am prosperous. I am abundant. I am rich. I am rich. Tomorrow I'm checking into a hotel on the ocean for 10 days, just because I want to. Yay! Behind that. Have some emotion, but if you're not used to picking and choosing your emotions, if you think that emotions are reactive to the world without, and you just are bouncing around like a puppet on a string, I couldn't help it. Well, of course I'm angry. Of course you can help it, and you can be anything you want. You're not angry, you're doing anger. Put that in your vocabulary. How are you? I'm doing some anger right now. At least own it. I'm doing some frustration right now. Own it. Because then if you're doing it, you can do it different. I'm doing some happiness right now. I'm doing some relief right now. I'm doing some joy right now. You're doing it. So he's saying, as he moves into this idea of taking charge of your emotions so that you can supercharge your thoughts and words, that you want to pay special attention to your belly. And I don't mean look at it in the mirror and start criticizing yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how does it feel. So when you think that life is great, just say that with me. Life is great. How's that feel in your belly? It opens it up. It lets that energy come out. And I won't do this too much to you, but just say, oh no. Oh no. How'd that feel in your belly? Tight. And people wonder why they have irritable bowel system syndrome. Well, just go back to life is great. Life is great. Yes, and watch that open up. And so he's saying that you want to visualize your belly as a sun shining. It is the sun of your being shining forth into the world. And as it's open, then he says you're touching everybody around you and lifting everybody up, and things are working out, and people want to, buy things from you and be your friend and have good relationships with you because your light touches their light. And whenever you're around someone and they've got this energy coming out, he says there are some people that are so charismatic, and I would think, well, that's coming out of their mouth or their heart. He's saying, no, it's coming right out of their belly. Coming right out of their belly. So he wants you to pay attention to how your belly is. How's your belly brain? How's your belly light? And to let that come through you into your world. And if you're not having good belly light, think thoughts that open you up. Think thoughts that make you feel open, and watch that come through. And notice he's not saying you're trying to get light in. We are beings of light. We don't get light in, we let light out. And the more light we let out, what happens? The brighter we get, the more we let in. Try holding your breath. Don't let it out, Michaela. Hold it in. You gotta let it out, and then as soon as you let it out, you can breathe in. And sometimes, if you've done any breath work, you notice a lot of people breathe really shallow. I see you, Jane. They breathe really shallow. And that keeps their emotions down. But if you really want to take a deep breath, you have to let a deep breath out to make room for a deep breath to come in. So here we are, these beings, amazing beings of light and love, and as we let our light come out of us, we have more light in us. It's the most amazing thing. It's part of this spiritual law. As you give, you receive. The more you give out, the more you get back. And so many people out in the world think, well, this is all I have, so I got to hold on to it, and I can't let go of it, because if I let go of it, then, 10 minus 10 leaves me 0. Then what am I going to do? Not realizing that as you give it out, law takes over and you get back more. You do it with your breath. You do it with your heartbeat. You do it with smiles. You do it with love. As you love more, you have more love. And so he's saying, pay attention to your belly. Pay attention to this light that shines through you out into your world. Make sure it's shining. And if it isn't, it's up to you to feel the feelings of expansion and openness and to let that light come through. God knows the world needs more light. I call us light bearers. Our job is to bring the light, to shine the light. And I always kind of figured we're holding it up. Charles Haanel says it's coming right out of our bellies. So let that light come through. Monitor your emotional state. And if it's constrictive, open it up. Think thoughts that will open you up. Abraham says it doesn't matter what you think about, as long as you open up. Think about chocolate milkshakes. I love my chocolate milkshakes. They make me happy. Think about that. Coffee, mocha, all this wonderful stuff. Think about it, open up, and the light moves out. If you're going, oh, you dirty, rotten rack and ratchet, you're shut down. It'll make you sick. Well, these hay's all about that. It'll make you sick. It'll make you poor. It'll make you miserable. So it's our job to monitor ourselves, pick the feelings that are going to make us open and moving in life, and then just go and shine like a banshee. Just go and shine our light everywhere we go. We're shining, we're shining, we're shining, we're shining, we're shining. And that's going to affect the energy all around us. And it's going to affect what we create in the world without. Nobody wants to live in a dark world without. If the world without is based on the world within, turn the light on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. Bob.
Yeah, for me, my thing I like to say a lot is, life is good. And people say, how you doing? I say, life is good. I was at a store the other day and I found this picture. It said, life is good on it. So I put it by my front door, and every time I walk in and out, it's right there. And it's true. Life is good. You just get that over and over and over again. And you go do good things, you feel very loving, you're happy, because you were looking for it.
Right, because we're looking for it. That what you were looking for, you're going to find.
Yep.
Excellent. Who else? Somebody else had their hand up. Are you trying to say something, Jane?
No, I wasn't, but I'd like to.
Okay. If you want to raise your hand with me, you're really going to have to give me good cues, good body language cues like, hello.
Okay.
Jane, thank you, Jane.
I just wanted to say, I drive along Beaver Dam Road every day or night, and somebody has says joy, J-O-Y, and all the purple and yellow and green letters. It's just this little sign. What a lovely thing, and it just lights up the whole place.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
so I
great.
really appreciate that.
Good.
On that.
So in this idea that we are cause to our life, that we are the ones that are in control of what we create, that brings up this question of, well, then who are we? Who are we? So many people think, well, I'm my name. You're not your name. So many people think that they are their bodies.
No.
They're not. Michaela's all, no. They're not their bodies. What do other people think that they are that they aren't?
The rules, the
daily
Your roles.
You're not your bank account, what's in your wallet, your khakis, Fight Club.
Clothing, your job, your age.
Good one.
Car. Yes.
Gender.
And career.
You're not your boyfriend.
This is all the world without. So if this is the world without, and this is the world within,
You're not another person.
who are you?
Light.
Love, joy.
Rainbow unicorn.
Wisdom, power.
Love.
God. Okay, that's enough.
Spirit.
Awesomeness.
And I didn't put your rainbow unicorn because that's a thing. But do you see the difference? These are things. These are your roles, these are your money, your clothes, your career, your job, your age, your car, your gender, it's a thing. This is not, this is an essence or a nature. The only way things show up in your life is because they come from the essence and the nature of who you are. Now this could be also, it could be negative, cranky, angry, vindictive, competitive, that kind of thing. And that will also create things in your life, but that's not the highest truth of you. The highest truth of who you are is that you are spirit in form as you. And I know that that's easy to say, and then people go back home and they go, oh yeah, but she doesn't know what I did. She doesn't know what's happened to me. She doesn't know who I am. And I want you to know I do know who you are. I know who you are. And it's very, very important for us to get clear on who we believe we are. And that's where therapy comes in. It's dealing at a secondary level. You're dealing with, oh, I am my mother's daughter or my father's daughter, or I'm a product of my environment. Is it nature or nurture? You know, I am all of the things that I've done. I'm my thoughts and beliefs about myself. That's not the highest truth of you. The highest truth of you is that you are pure, perfect spirit. And when you can start to embrace that and start doing the release work of letting yourself off the hook for having just been human up until now, and so you did what you did, and take a deep breath, listen to me on this one. If you could have done anything differently, you would have. And since you didn't, you couldn't. If you could have done anything different, you would have. But you didn't, so you couldn't. So let yourself off the hook. If you put yourself back in that exact moment with the tools that you had at that moment, you would do exactly the same thing. So beating yourself up the rest of your life is completely wasting your life and your time. Betty.
That's also really pertinent when you think back at your life as far as the situations and the relationships you had. Like, you know, you hold this anger because your parents didn't do this or didn't do that. It's the same thing that they did, what they could at the time that they had.
Right.
And that kind of makes the forgiveness part a lot easier.
Right. The forgiveness part is crucial because it opens up your belly button. When you are holding on to anger and resentment, maybe that's what Jesus meant with the bushel basket. You know, that then you're covering your light up. And it's critical, if you want to manifest your life the way you want it to be, for you to allow yourself to be the person who gets to have that life. You are the person that gets to have not only money, but time. You get to have support. You get to have the life that you want to have. You deserve it, and you didn't do anything wrong to screw it up. Even if everybody around you is saying, oh, you screwed this up. No. We did what we did There's only the now. Let go of the past, be in this now moment, and open up to the amazing spiritual being that you are. We are all walking our path. Everybody does what they do. What everybody else does is none of your business. And what other people think about what you do is equally none of your business. The only thing that is your business is what you think about you. And when you start thinking about you and asking some very basic spiritual questions like, who am I? Am I the sinner on planet Earth? Am I being tested and am I gonna burn in a fiery hell forever? Is that who I am? Am I basically flawed as a person? If you have some of those feelings, which it wouldn't be completely weird for you to have, given that, you know, you're part of the human race, it's important to pull those out and to look at them. Well, what is it about me that I think I deserve to be punished for? What is it about me that separates me from those people who get to be happy and healthy and wealthy? What is it about me that is different than my hopes and dreams? And is that real? And my guess is that some of you have some pretty real stuff in your past. And again, if you could have done anything different, you would have. And since you didn't, you couldn't. It was impossible for you to do it differently than the way it went down. And that moment is gone. No matter what happened from it, that moment is gone, and we are all standing fresh and new in this now moment. Linda.
You reminded me of the country and western song that says, God bless the broken road that led me to where I am.
Yeah, yeah. Sure, because was it broken, or was it just the perfect and right path?
Apparently so.
Yes, yes. Every relationship, every supposed mistake or mishap has all been part of your orchestrated path to be where you are today. And I want you to know there are going to be future ones. So you might as well not get so caught up in it. Yes, somebody might go bankrupt. Yes, somebody might crash the car. Yes, somebody might say something that someone else deems very hurtful. Okay, and let's clean it up and move on. How's our belly light doing? We got some shining to do. Let's shine it on this situation and bring ourselves back to the now moment and move on, because it is only in this now moment that you will be able to unlock the key to all of the riches that life has for you. It can only happen now. And if you're busy, as we come to Easter, crucifying yourself up on the cross, if you're busy doing that, I suggest you get down. You know, even Jesus was only up there 3 hours. He's been up there for 30 years. On the other hand, so if you really want to have the life of your dreams, you have to let yourself be the person who gets to have the life of their dreams. And if there's anything stopping you from being that person, that's where your healing comes from. You don't need to know why you're doing it. You don't need to have a whole story about it. Just stop doing it. Let it go. Turn the page. If you've got voices in your head criticizing you nonstop, that is not your business. The only business is this now moment. Where are you today? Where are you right here and right now? What are you going to do with this next breath? And my guess is you wouldn't be in this room if you weren't planning on doing something pretty wonderful with that next breath. So nothing else matters. This whole hypnotism that we have of a God and the devil, and then we take it back to, well, we'll just call it good and bad, or now we're in metaphysics, we call it positive and negative. It's all the same thing. It takes me back to the Buddhist idea that whatever is. Period. Not good, not bad, not right, not wrong, not better, not worse. It just is. And in this now moment, you have all the power as long as you don't take it away from yourself by locking yourself up into the past. And really, I don't care what you've done. I don't care what people say about you. I don't care what people think about you. It doesn't matter. What only matters is this exact instant. And in this exact instant, we are all made new. We are all fresh. We are all spiritual beings, alive and well on planet Earth, having a love fest, letting our light shine, and making the world a better place. And that's the only reason that we're here, in my opinion. Not to work out karma or to have toil and, raising children and all of that stuff. It's not about that. It's about having a love fest. It's about raising consciousness, and we do that inside of ourselves. And we can't raise the consciousness of anybody else if we don't feel that we deserve it. It's got to start within, the world within, and then the world without. So if you're looking for money, if you're looking for value, where's the value within you? If you're looking for love, where's the love within you? If you're looking for support, where's the support within you? And when you go inside of yourself and look within and answer some of these very basic questions like, who am I? You start to have an easier time of staying in the world within and watching the world without coalesce into form. It's really important. You cannot be on the spiritual path effectively and beat yourself up. It's just not going to happen. You cannot be on the spiritual path effectively and love everybody but you, or love everybody but your mother. It's not going to happen. And then you'll be in conflict and things won't manifest and you'll go, what's going on? Well, what's going on is that you're not in the now moment, you're not fresh and clean, you're not creating what you want, you're stuck in the past, and you are recreating those old ideas and circumstances. And it takes discipline, because most people on the planet will tell you you should feel guilty. You should be ashamed of yourself. No, John calls them the 4 cardinal sins: blame, shame, regret, and failure. Cardinal sins of science of mind. There's no one to blame. You've never done anything wrong. You've always done what you needed to do, no regrets, and you've never failed. You are a magnificent success in everything you've done. Sometimes it's looked to the outer world like it was a failure, but you just manifested a successful experience that other people called a failure. It was a successful closing of your business. It was a successful bankruptcy. It was successful homelessness. You're a success. And when you start shifting those ideas of how you see yourself and not listen to what the world says, then you have the power. You have the power to create within yourself that which you want to live on the outside, and the outer shows up in form, and all of a sudden people are, you're so lucky. Well, good things just follow you and track you down and land in your lap. No, we created that in the world within, and the world without had to show up accordingly. Does that make sense? If we would all let ourselves off the hook, we'd stop having to kill each other. It's true.
That would be a relief.
Really. One of the things that I love about Charles Haanel, and he speaks to one of my ethics, which is if you say you're going to do something, do it, to keep your word, one of the 4 agreements. But he explains it, and he says that if you start something, finish it. Because if you start something and you don't finish it, you are building a consciousness of not finishing. And then, when you say you're going to do something, like I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to be wealthy, you already have he calls it a habit of failure. You already have a habit of failure in your consciousness, and so your subconscious says, oh, well, we're going to fail at that. We're going to fail at that because I said I was going to wash my dishes at the end of the week and I didn't do it. Or I said I was going to meet you for lunch and I just blew you off and didn't go. You're establishing a habit of failure. And so he's saying whatever it is you say you're going to do, just go ahead and do it. Or Don't say you're going to do it. If you start something, finish it, or don't start it. And that kind of reminds me of Wallace Wattles saying, if you're not going to do something successfully, don't do it. Because if you don't do it successfully, you create failure in your life. And if the only things you do successfully, you create success. So even if you only do one thing a day, you get up out of bed and go to the bathroom, and it's a success, and you do that every day, you have a life of success. But if you have all these big plans about, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and then you never do it, you've created a habit of failure, and that will bite you when it's important for you to do something that you wanna do. Remember last week, I got up on the chair, I'm not gonna do that this week because it tends to crash. But I got up on the chair and talked about that Roberto Assagioli book called The Act of Will, not willpower, just the will to be able to say, I will do this, and then practice doing it. Just stand on a chair for a half an hour or an hour every day and not do anything. No reading, no phone, no television, no nothing. You just stand there. Why? Because you said you would stand there. And what that develops inside of you is, if I say I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do it. And my guess is, if you have that inside of you, you will be very careful about what you say you're going to do. So that you're thinking about, well, am I really want to commit to this? Because if I commit to it, I'm going to do it. Because I have a habit of success. So that when I say I'm going to have my life be just wonderful, I have a habit of success, and that's going to carry me through. Bob?
Yeah, mine was, a lot of times we tend to beat ourselves up where we don't do something we say we're going to do. So one of the things I use is I recommit, like this before a group, I said I'd be here at a certain time. I stand before that group and say to them, you know, I recommit to be here on time. And so it's for myself, and it helps me saying it to the group. And over time, you may do it again, but I don't beat myself up. I recommit and keep doing it until I do it, and then you just tend to do it.
Yeah, beating yourself up doesn't help. It only gives you a secondary gain of you lose and you're in trouble and you deserve to be beaten up. And then your neurotic dynamic kicks in. And so you set yourself up to fail just so you can beat yourself up. And people live that way. Don't do that. You can always change your agreements. You can always change your agreements. Say, I agreed to be there at 12 o'clock, and now I'm changing my agreement. Well, I don't change my agreement. Well, I'm not asking you to change your agreement. I'm changing my agreement with you. What you do with that is your business, but I'm clear. It's okay. Then you take charge. You empower yourself. You're in control of your life. You have a habit of success in the world within. And whenever you do something, it's successful. Olympia.
I've just experienced that same situation. I had told someone to ask me if I would help them move. And I said, sure I would. And so we went over the dates and things, and so I went home and I looked on my calendar, and it wasn't going to work for me. The time that she was available, I wasn't available. And so I'd already said, well, I have a habit of not returning phone calls. I'll text. So I said,
I wouldn't affirm that if I were you.
but I'm just saying that's what I had been doing. But recently I said, you know what? I'm going to start calling people back when they ask me to do something. And so I called her immediately, and I left a message and said, I know I agreed to do this, but my time is not going to work with you, and you know, I love you, and I know things are going to work. Maybe we can get together and have lunch at your new place. And later on, she called and she left a message, and she said, thank you for calling me. I understand how things are going for you, and sure, we'll get together sometime.
Sure, you cleaned it up in the world within, and then the outside could clean up. If you didn't clean it up on the inside, the outside would be a mess. And by you getting out of the way, if it's not yours to do, don't do it. You get out of the way and let somebody else show up. Somebody else, it is theirs to do. It's like people here, you are not allowed to do anything out of duty and obligation. If you're not happy doing what you're doing, please get away and let somebody in who would be happy. I've seen that with people in the kitchen. Nobody helps wash the dishes. Oh, it's so much work. Nobody will help. Nobody will help. Get out of the kitchen. And then 6 people come in. And they want to help, and they're laughing and cutting up and having a great time.
Yeah, and they-
But that first person with their energy of being messy in the world within creates messiness in the world without, and they share a world without, and I don't like that. So you get out of the kitchen, take your messiness outside, sit in the sun, shine your light a little bit, and let somebody else come in. Because there are no vacuums, there are no empty spaces in the universe. In order for the universe to be infinite, it has to be full at every point. And so there's somebody to do what you don't want to do. It's really okay. You don't like to wash dishes? Don't wash them. Eat on paper plates. You don't want to wash clothes? Sammy Davis wore a brand new pair of socks every day. You know, you can buy new clothes, you can buy cheap clothes, don't want to wash them? Great. You don't have to. It's like we have all these rules that we've laid on ourselves about how we're supposed to be so that we fit in, and you just don't have to do that. You can be happy. You can be healthy. You can be rich. You really can. It's your job to let yourself be the person who gets to be happy, gets to be healthy, gets to be rich. I remember when I was first learning these, I would walk around the docks in Fort Lauderdale, and I would wonder what those people had that I didn't have. And it was my wondering what they had that I didn't have that reinforced a feeling in me that I didn't have it. And then I started to make friends with people, and I realized I'm more together than they are. And they've got all this stuff. Hey, maybe I can have some stuff. Because I reevaluated who I thought myself to be. So that's your job, to clean up your world within and watch the outer clean up. And if you have a messy world without, you can, work your fingers to the bone. You can manipulate people and circumstances all you want, but your time would be better used to go inside and to clean yourself up. Let yourself off the hook. Forgive everybody and everything for anything you think anybody might have ever done. Shine your light. Be in the now moment. Clean up your world within. Master control of yourself so that you can choose what you want to think, choose what you want to say, choose what you want to feel, and then create that inside of you and watch it show up on the outside. And if you do that, I guarantee you, your world without will change. And you will be living the life of your dreams, whether it looks like you thought it was going to look or not. You will be living the life of your dreams. You will be happy. You will be healthy. You will be joyous. You will feel abundant and prosperous. You will be free because you've done the work inside. Any other questions? Great. Let's close it out. Take out what you're going to give. Let's get it done. Hold it in your hand. Don't turn it off.
No.
Let the people out on the web participate in the giving to this Center for Spiritual Living. If you look right on the webpage that you're at, you will see a PayPal bank account button. And you too can join in the generous giving and receiving, the setting spiritual law in motion, and the creation of great riches in your life. So as you hold this gift, what I know is that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I know that each one of us is filled full to overflowing with the presence of the divine because we are the divine in form at the point of us, which means we are created out of prosperity and abundance and riches of all kinds. And so we open to that. We know that each one of us is loved, each one of us is precious, each one of us deserves to have more than enough, to have so much that we don't know what to do with it all. Whether it's money or time or love or support. And I know that as we give this gift tonight, we set spiritual law in motion. And the only thing that life can do is take it, multiply it, and bring it right back. So we get ready. We open up our minds to infinite possibilities. God has ways of giving us money that we've never even dreamed of yet. We open up our hearts to know that we are loved and precious and that each of us deserves to live the rich life. And then we open up our hands and let the gift go, knowing that law takes it, multiplies it, and brings it back. And we are ready and aware to accept and receive all that life has for us. I know that each one of us comes together this night to make this center for spiritual living Asheville all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is. Hold the energy in the room. We are manifesting. Hold the energy in the room. Don't slip away for social chatter. Hold the energy in the room. Infinite supply. Pouring in, through, and as us. Money, jewels, deeds of trust, stacks of gold. All ours. Living the rich life. Going where we want to go, doing what we want to do, being who we're meant to be, being free, right here and right now. That is our divine birthright. We don't have to turn into anything to have that. It is already ours. It has already been given simply by us being. And so right here and right now, I know that everything in these baskets is blessed because we are the blessing. And as we give anything, that which we are pours forth into our lives. I see it as golden light coming forth from each one of us, filling up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with God as us. And as Spirit moves in our lives, things happen. So get ready. We are touched, we are blessed, we are awakened, we are quickened, and we are healed. And I know that that energy cannot be contained, so out it goes to travel this world and then to shoot off into the heavens, to touch, to bless, to awaken, to quicken, and to heal every being on this planet. Always here, always now, touching every one of us here tonight, everyone who has ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. I love you. Come sit.